Hi everyone, my name is Jera Viliran, and today I will be reporting about Lesson 23, Gender Inequality in Marriage and Criminal Laws. So to give you an overview about what we'll be discussing in this lesson, I will give you the introduction. So marriage laws in the Philippines. Marriage laws in the Philippines is based on sex and not on gender. This means that marriage in the Philippines is based on the biological reproductive system of of the individual and not on how we feel about our true gender identity. So later on we'll be discussing and I will be giving you out some definitions of marriage based on the Philippine Constitution. So based on the Philippine Constitution, marriage is defined as inevitable social institution, foundation of the family, and protected by the state. Based on this, we can say that we can infer that marriage is protected by the Philippine government, and also the Philippine laws are taking the sacredness and seriousness of getting into marriage. So next we have the family code. So in the family code, marriage is defined as a special contract of permanent union between a man and a woman entered into in accordance with the laws for the establishment of conjugal and family life. So based on this definition of family in of the family code, rather, it gives emphasis that between it marriages between a man and a woman, and we know that in the Philippines, same-sex marriage or marriage between and among LGBT community members is not yet accepted in the Philippines, and it's very unfortunate for the LGBTQ members. So next we have the crime on adultery presents harsher requisites than the crime on concubine. So later on in this lesson, I will be giving out detailed explanation as to what is adultery and what is concubinage. But for background, for a little bit of a background, adultery and concubinage are marriage issues wherein there is a third party involved in the marriage. So later on we will discuss about the penalties, also the requisites for these two terms. So next we have the pictures of family and marriage, a happy family. Next is the primacy of the decision of the husband or the father. So here in this part of the lesson, I will be giving out some articles of the Philippine Constitution that emphasizes the superiority of the father or the husband in marriage and in family life. So the first article is Article 14. Article 14 is all about the consent given to enter into marriage. So when the contracting parties, when the man and woman is in the ages of 18 to 21 and they want to get married, they should have an additional requirement of a written consent given by their parents, and the order of priority is their father should be the first one to give out the consent. If in any case the father cannot give out the consent, then it will be followed by the order of the mother or any surviving parent or guardian. So as we can see, the father is really the first priority in giving out the consent for the marriage. Next article, we have Article 96. So Article 96 is about, so we the Article 14 is about before marriage. So now we have um after or in the married stage na ta. So for the community property is defined as the things that the couple acquired before and after marriage. So these are sometimes called conjugal properties. So for this, both spouses jointly have ownership. However, if there is disagreement between the two parties, the wife and the husband, then the husband's decision shall prevail. So we can say na really the husband is, or the father figure is really given out emphasis on marriage and family life. Next, we have somehow similar article 124. This is for conjugal partnership also. So, if ever na they have disagreement, again, the husband's decision shall prevail. The wife can go to court and question the decision of the husband, but it will take time, and it also needs proofs that her decision should prevail over her husband's decision. So an example of these two articles that I'm giving you is, first, if in the time of their marriage they build um, a business, and that business prospers, but in the peak of that business, the husband suddenly decides to equally divide the profit among the wife and the husband, and that those profit will be their personal money na. But then the wife wants those the whole profit to be invested into another business. So in this case, the husband's decision to divide the profit among themselves will be the one to prevail, kaya it is based on the law. So unfortunately, despite the good intentions of the wife, her decision is not accepted. So next is, we have Article 211. So in Article 211, it is about the joint exercise of parental authority. So the father and the mother have joint parental authority among their children. Then another article similar to this is Article 225. They also have, father and mother shall jointly exercise legal guardianship over the property of an emancipated common child. So if there is a disagreement, then the father's decision shall prevail. So in our daily lives, at home, so example ani kay, when we have when we are invited to a birthday of a friend, for example, and we will be asking permission to our parents. So we'll be asking first, personally, I will be asking permission first to my mother, because she's the one who's with me at home while my father works. So we will ask our mother first, and our mother will tell us to ask our father first. Then if our father says yes, then we can go. If our father says no, then we will not be able to go to the event. So in that simple example, we can say that our mothers are submissive over our father, so they let our father decide for the whole family. So next article, and so those are the articles of um, in giving emphasis on the father's role and husband's role in marriage and in family life. Next, we have higher burden on women or wife than man or husband. So now we have adultery. So adultery is committed when a married woman have a sexual intercourse with a man. So that's the only requisite for adultery. So um if the husband proved that the married woman is having sexual intercourse with another man who knows that she is married, then the husband can file for an adultery case. While for concubinage, so the requisite for concubinage is the husband shall have a mistress in the conjugal dwelling. So meaning within the marriage, he had a mistress and they have sexual intercourse that is scandalous, meaning nag-viral. So, and also with a woman, not his wife of course, and they cohabit her in another place, meaning cohabit her in another place kay murag kuan ba kanang gipastay sa husband in another place nga ang husband ang gabayad. So that's the requisites. So tulo ang requisites na tulo ang the things ang kinanglan nga i-prove bitaw sa wife nga nagbinuang iyang husband. So before siya maka-file for a concubinage case. So imagine adultery case, one requisite for the husband, maka-file din siya og adultery case if ever nga na-prove niya nga na sexual intercourse with another man ang iyang wife. Well, so wife nga case kay tulo pa ka requisite. Dili lang nga ma-prove niya nga na sexual intercourse, dili na sapat for her to file a concubinage case. Kay dapat she will be proving nga it nag-viral jud ang ilang sexual intercourse. So muna gidungog jud pag-ayo na mga videos and all, and also dapat pod nga aside from having mistress, dapat ma-prove po niya na the husband is paying for the stay of the mistress in another place. So that's very difficult. Imagine 3 versus 1, diba? So next we have the penalties. For the penalties sa adultery na case, it imprisonment range to 4 months and a day to 6 years. So that's very long span of time. Concubinage naman, we have 6 months and a day to 4 years and 2 months. So mas mas taas ang imprisonment range sa adultery. And sa concubinage kay ang mistress is under deseterio. Deseterio means that the mistress shall not be in one place with the husband if ever na ay concubinage case nila. Well, sa adultery is ang kuan, the woman or rather the imprisonment range of 4 months to 6 years is applicable to the wife and also to her to the man nga iyahong third party. So dili siya comparing na pud ta kanang mas ang penalty for concubinage is less mas kon bitaw dili siya lighter than the adultery penalty, pero they are all criminal cases. So I do hope nga dili ni ma-happen in any marriage, diba? So that is all for my part of the report. So overall, we discussed about laws on emphasizing the primacy of the father or husband in marriage and family life. So in those laws, like, we really can say na superior ang father or ang husband, but personally, I do hope that despite having those laws in the Philippines, we in our family, our parents are giving out equal rights and equal authorities and opportunities between themselves, because after all, it takes two persons to tango, and it takes cooperation and also cooperation between two or more peoples to make a happy and harmonious and successful relationship, diba? So that's all for my part, and my co-reporter for this lesson, Miss Kristel Villamero, will be continuing the other parts of lesson 23. Thank you and bye-bye.
Hello everyone, I'm Kristel C. Villamero, and I will be discussing about the forgiveness clause in the crime of rape, RA 8353, or the anti-rape law, and the exclusive definition of prostitution. Rape is a crime, and it has always been a gravely intolerable act in our society. Before proceeding to our main topic, let's read first about when and how rape is committed. Article 266A, Rape, when and how committed. Rape is committed by a man who shall have carnal knowledge of a woman under any of the following circumstances: through force, threat, or intimidation, when the offended party is deprived of reason or otherwise unconscious, by means of fraudulent machination or grave abuse of authority, and when the offended party is under 12 years of age or is demented, though none of the circumstances mentioned above be present. Now, on to our topic, forgiveness clause and the crime of rape. Republic Act No. 8353, or the Anti-Rape Law of 1997, contains a clause that can easily exonerate the offender and can further endanger the victim. In the law, it was stated that subsequent valid marriage between the offender and the offended party shall extinguish the crime, action, or the penalty imposed. So, according to that clause, pag magpakasal ang offended party and the offender, is ma-extinguish na ang crime or mawala na siya, and dili na maka-impose og penalty sa perpetrator. This gives an easy way out of the offender, which in effect does not bar him from committing the crime. And with the stigma surrounding rape victims na ma-blame pa sila and guba ilang reputation, some victims would be forced to compromise and magpakasal na lang after samot na og influential ang family sa offender. Further, it also recognized that if the offender is the legal husband, the subsequent forgiveness by the wife who is the offended party shall extinguish the crime, shall extinguish the criminal action or the penalty. So rape could also happen between married couples, and it is tagged as marital rape. It is the act of sexual intercourse with one spouse without their consent. Before, marital rape is just reduced into away mag-asawa, but it is actually considered as domestic violence and sexual abuse, and the offender can be legally liable. So consent is very important even between married couples, marriage doesn't mean na you are giving up the rights to decide for your own body. You have the right to say no even paog kasal na mo. But according sa forgiveness clause, sa RA 8353, pag na-forgive na ang husband sa wife, ma-extinguish na ang crime. This perpetuates violence under the guise of marriage, which can continue these kinds of abuses for a long period of time. More likely is maging abusive na ang relationship pag ipalampason na jud na nimo. And if you noticed, presumed na ang husband or ang man ang perpetrator sa law. Wala naka-state na ang wife abi ang nag-rape sa husband. Maybe it is because most of the reported crimes is mga women or wife ang victim. But this doesn't mean na walay men na victims sa rape. I think the law applies to both sexes because rape doesn't only happen to women but to men as well. But yeah, sa anti-rape law is mao siya ang nakabutang na men ang presumed na perpetrator. Our next topic is the exclusive definition of prostitution. Article 202 of the Revised Penal Code, amended by Republic Act Number 10158, retained the decades-old definition of prostitutes as women who, for money or profit, habitually engage in sexual intercourse or lascivious conduct. Following this definition, a man who peddles sexual acts for profit is in effect invisible in the eyes of the law, thus making the actor thereof immune to imprisonment. Prostitution is illegal in the Philippines. Any person found guilty of the offenses covered by the article shall be punished by minor arrest or a fine not exceeding 200 pesos, and in case of repeated offense by major arrest, correctional prison is minimum period or a fine ranging from 200 to 2,000 pesos or both. This is kind of a discriminatory law as Article 202 of the Philippines Revised Penal Code defines prostitution as a crime only women can commit. So ang mga men na sex peddlers is walay law nga nag-cover sa ilaha. As stated here, mura siya, they are invisible in the eyes of the law, so walay punishment na ma-impose sa ilaha. The Family Code, which contains marital laws and provisions, includes provisions which depict gender inequality. Legislation on same-sex marriage are good initiatives to address this issue on gender inequality in marital laws. Criminal laws are not that different as clearly some provisions therein favor the male sex over female sex. First, this pertains to crimes involving penalties for imprisonment. So, in our Constitution, there are discriminatory laws in nature, those that are favoring the male sex, for example, and this can be an easy way out for the perpetrators. And dagan kay mga policy-making bodies that are pushing for amendments of these laws, like the Philippine Commission on Women to protect the interests of the female sex and also to lessen the gender-based discrimination. So these discriminatory laws should be addressed para maprotektahan pod ang rights sa kadaghanan. Dili ira ang katong mga treated as the stronger sex. And that's the end of the report. Thank you.